So I thought I would have shelter here at this park, and I'm still getting wet. However, it looks like the sun's coming out, so I'm gonna beat feet back to the house and get parked in the garage. Yeah, so you probably noticed that there's no audio, and it's very unfortunate because I had this nice vlog all done up about the Jeep and talking about, you know, some of the things that are lined up for the Jeep and future modifications and add-ons. So the thing about vlogging and doing videos for YouTube is if you don't check your equipment first, something like this could happen. I recorded at least probably 45 minutes with no audio at all, and I don't know what happened with the mic and the USB cable. I'm guessing something got screwed up somewhere, obviously, because there is no audio. However, I'll talk briefly here while we take a ride in the Jeep. I'll keep the audio turned down for the most part for the video, but basically all you'll hear is a dirt road and lots of creaks and banging around because it is an old Jeep. So as you notice on the video, the front tie-down hoop is not on the hood yet. I did not get that on. That's the piece where if you fold the windshield down, there's a little strap that goes to that. But basically, the main point of the vlog that I recorded was about what I'm going to do to the Jeep yet and the eventual finish as a drag racing Jeep. So right now, I want to use it like a Jeep. I want to use it as a joyriding vehicle, as a nice weather ride, top-off ride, things like that. So the nice thing is the things that I have planned for the Jeep go hand in hand with eventually drag racing it. I have a harness bar that I already received from Rock Hard 4x4. That's currently sitting in the garage. That needs installed. The seats are being ordered. And then I want to get a full roll cage for it. And Rock Hard 4x4 also has those, and they're great people to work with. So, excuse me, looking at doing the full roll cage and just some other things. I mean, it needs some suspension work and things like that. But as a lifted Jeep, the full roll cage, you need it for drag racing. The harnesses and seats, you need it for drag racing. And so if I use the Jeep as a Jeep and cruise around in it and things like that, the things that I'm doing to it are not going to take away from the ability for it to be used for drag racing. In fact, it's just some of the process along the way. One of the issues I have with the Jeep currently is that 4x4 posi lock cable that Nick had Andy at Diablo Formula Racing install. I don't think Andy installed it correctly. I'm not questioning his abilities as a mechanic. However, I was getting constant clicking and grinding noises from the front end when I would drive the Jeep. I decided to take that housing off where the fork is that slides the collar over the intermediate shaft, which then locks the passenger side axle into the intermediate shaft into the pumpkin. So basically that's how you get four-wheel drive. I think when I pulled the cover off, I noticed that the collar was already over the intermediate shaft, even though the posi lock cable was in the position where it shouldn't have been. As I was looking around with it and attempting to put it back together, I noticed that as I moved the housing to put it back together, the shift fork again moved the collar over top of the intermediate shaft. At that point I knew what the issue was, so I adjusted it the best I could, and sure enough, it got rid of all the clicking and the banging around from the front end as I was driving it. For the time being, what I'm going to do is get rid of that posi lock cable. Going to disconnect it, take it off, and be done with it. And in place, I'm just going to put the housing in and obviously make sure that there's a device in there that keeps fluid from leaking out, either a bolt or a piece of that posi lock cable, or I don't know, you know, something, but I'll make it work. Bottom line is the posi lock cable was not installed correctly, and it could have really broke something. Other than that, the steering column bangs around quite a bit. And what I've found is that the lower steering column bearing is basically missing, which allows the steering column itself to bounce around inside of the support housing that goes through the firewall. So I will need to buy a lower steering column bearing assembly and get that done. That will eliminate quite a bit of the noise of going over bumps, because my steering column is not going to bounce and bang around all over the place. Other than that, as I was just out cruising along here in the woods, eventually I hit rain. And I didn't really think it was a big deal because it's a Jeep, and it's still not a big deal. The issue was I didn't have a squeegee or a towel. And as you drive further into the heavy rain, the water splashes up from behind and blows into the inside of the Jeep. So even though you have wipers on for the outside, the water is still all over the inside of the windshield. So it pretty much sucked to try to drive, and lesson learned, I need to get a squeegee if I'm going to drive the Jeep in the rain. I didn't care about getting wet. I didn't care about the Jeep getting wet. There was water all over the place. It's no big deal. It's a Jeep. That's, you know, it goes hand in hand with having a Jeep. So as I was driving along, yeah, it was a mess. I tried to keep my lane as best I could in the rain, but I couldn't see very well. So eventually I ducked into the state park and parked under a tree. Other than that, that's really new. That's all that's new with the Jeep, is just finding some of these issues. You know, the steering column bearing, the 4x4 posi lock cable, and what else? I guess those are really the only main issues that I found recently. I do just about have the CB mounted in the inside. I'm not entirely sure where I want to put it. I'm kind of waiting on getting the seats installed and seeing about a center console and maybe putting the CB in the center console. But the antenna, the antenna's installed, it's all wired up, the ground all checks out, so that's all good. And we got the seatbelt harness bar, things like that. So yeah, everything's coming along pretty well with it. The truck, quick update on the truck, it's running full E85. I really wanted to make a video about that, but I did not get a chance. I have an app on my phone, and I want to try to do some 0 to 60 times. And I also want to try to get it on a dyno and see what the numbers will be with the E85. And yeah, so other than that, I have surgery coming up the end of this week. So I'm going to be out of commission for a little bit. It sucks, but something I need to get done. And I mean, I'll be able to go back to work fairly shortly, but I'll have a lifting restrictions and stuff like that. So while I'll be able to go back to work, I won't be able to do a whole lot of messing around with the Jeep. And so we're gonna take it easy, and maybe that's when I'll do some of the truck videos. Maybe get it on the dyno and go over the E85 stuff and run some times and things like that. So Sorry the video had no audio when I was actually vlogging. I probably forgot about half of what I said in the video and had to make up here with the computer microphone, but it happens. So lesson learned from one YouTuber to anybody else that's trying to start out is always double check and make sure that your audio, microphone, and things like that are okay. Do a quick little test video before you actually start vlogging, because I wasted a lot of time on nothing. Well, that's it. I hope everybody's doing well. Take care. Enjoy the last few days of summer if you're in school. And I'm sure a lot of parents are celebrating that their kids are going back to school. But I'll tell you, this summer really flew by. So everybody's doing well. Take care, and we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.